everyone, this is Fantasy-esque and welcome back to Season 3 of Royal Clan in ClanGen. When we left off, a surprising love square unfolded as Lotus Gaze finally became Cinnamon Tail's mate and joined his harem after his 5th confession. All of this while the Royal Grotto prepared for the birth of Snapdragon's precious litter. It is now Moon 172 in the second turn of Greenleaf. Let's see what happens next. And diving into our main events, Freckle will always love Rainstar, Queen Rainstar, but has decided to move on. It's been a while since Rainstar passed away, so Freckle has been holding on to that relationship for a while. Cinnamon Tail travels to Storm Clan to resolve some recent herb gathering disputes. However, it seems Cinnamon Tail only made Storm Clan more upset. And then the most exciting part, I think, of this episode. In the quiet of the nursery, in the nest they've spent so long preparing, Snapdragon and Ghostfeather welcome a single kitten. I already had an inkling that it was going to be a single kitten because Snapdragon and Ghostfeather are quite up there in age, but that's okay. That is okay. At least Ghostfeather, had the chance of having a child of his own and a family of his own, which makes me really happy. But okay. We have, guys, Mudkit, the adorable little Mudkit, who is an unusually spotted brown and white she-cat. So yes, we have a female little kitten. Look at how adorable she looks. Oh my goodness. So she has gold eyes, which her parents don't have, a rosette pelt, and she's charming, which is adorable, little Mudkit. But what other genes that her parents have? I'll just quickly look at the descriptors again. So Snapdragon is a dark brown / pale ginger tawny tabby and white she-cat, and then Ghostfeather is a black tabby tom. Okay, and Snapdragon has pale green eyes, a tawny pelt. Ghostfeather has sunlit ice eyes and a marbled pelt. They ended up getting a daughter with gold eyes and a rosette pelt. I did take a look at Mudkit's family tree to see if anyone further up the lineage has gold eyes, and I don't think anyone does. Like, her grandparents had, I think, blue eyes and green eyes. And then, of course, we just looked at Snapdragon and Ghostfeather. None of the parents' siblings, I think, had gold eyes. Houndpaw might have had yellow eyes. And I don't think... Does Burnline have gold eyes? She does. Okay, so Mudkit has gold eyes like her cousin, Burnline. And that's another adorable thing. Bone Beetle, Burnline, and Hazel Slip, they're all cousins of Mudkit. Ah, I love that. I love that. Let's take a look at the Medicine Cat Den. So Lotus Gaze has heat exhaustion, which is not good. Snapdragon is recovering from birth. Scorch Hollow still has his sprain. Ghostfeather is grief-stricken, which is kind of miserable if you think about it, because he can't even properly enjoy the birth of his daughter, and I feel like he might not have been as present throughout Snapdragon's pregnancy because he was still grieving. Okay, on to the log. Ghostfeather was given time as treatment for grief-stricken. Lotus Gaze was given moss as treatment for heat exhaustion. Scorch Hollow was given dandelion as treatment for sprain, and then Freezefur gathered lungworts and cobwebs this moon. Now for the relationship events. Freezefur gets a bug off of Freckle's pelt and takes it out of camp. Freckle bestows wisdom onto Scorch Hollow. Freckle will always love Queen Rainstar, but has decided to move on. Foxstar, King Foxstar, and Fiercetooth learn a skill from each other that they've been envious about. King Foxstar, Cinnamon Tail, and Freezefur took a sunbath and had a little small talk. King Foxstar appreciates Lotus Gaze, telling him that he had a feather stuck to his face. Ghostfeather and Lotus Gaze work together to lead a scary bug out of the camp. Ghostfeather clears up a misunderstanding with Lotus Gaze. Freezefur learns about Scorch Hollow's struggles and is surprised how well he carries himself. Freezefur ignores Scorch Hollow. This is interesting. So Ghostfeather and Lotus Gaze, they work together and overcame a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Freezefur understood, like reached an understanding about Scorch Hollow, but then decided to ignore him. Fascinating. Flare Freckle bats a bit of fluff in front of Cinnamon Tail and gets him to play a game. Cinnamon Tail had a huge argument with Burn Lion. Fierce Tooth and Bone Beetle roll up moss balls together. Fierce Tooth realizes that Burn Lion would put her life on the line for a clan mate, which is kind of nice. I think Burn Lion is our bloodthirsty cat as well, and she has been since she was, I think, an apprentice. But her bloodthirst is for the sake of the clan, which is good. Snapdragon decides to be the bigger cat and plans to make amends with King Foxstar. Snapdragon and Fierce Tooth challenge one another during a hunting patrol. I feel like that's very fitting for the names they have, you know? Scorch Hollow follows through on a small promise made with Lotus Gaze. Aww. That's adorable. We know these two siblings, like these two brothers, have had, I think, slight issues in their relationship because of the whole Cinnamon Tail fiasco. And I think we said a couple episodes back that Scorch Hollow probably put in a good word for Lotus Gaze to Cinnamon Tail, which is why Cinnamon Tail was able to join his harem. And I'm wondering if Lotus Gaze is finally understanding his brother's intentions a little bit better. Hopefully that is the case. Lotus Gaze and Hazel Slip spend some time together and nearly forget what made them upset with one another in the first place. Scorch Hollow thinks Ghost Feather is very helpful. Scorch Hollow and Bone Beetle come up with a catchy song together. King Foxstar respects Burn Lion's opinion despite disagreeing with it. Hazel Slip has noticed Bone Beetle isn't doing a lot of work lately. And then Bone Beetle points out a nice rock for Lotus Gaze to sharpen his claws on. Onto the cat list. Since we have gotten a litter from Snapdragon and Ghost Feather, the clan is now going to shift their focus to a new match. And King Foxstar, he's been thinking about it. We know that he trained Burn Lion, his favorite daughter is Bone Beetle, Hazel Slip is kind of, I think Hazel Slip is her mother's favorite, but Foxstar wants to arrange a match for one of his daughters with someone in the clan, and the cat that he's chosen is actually the royal physician, Freezefur. But we know that Freezefur, he's kind of in this love square with Cinnamon Tail and Scorch Hollow and Lotus Gaze. Like, Freezefur is one of the three cats in Cinnamon Tail's harem. But whenever we have something like an official match made for the sake of a litter, they kind of have to break every other relationship they have, because the relationship or the match that is made for them has to take precedence. So King Foxstar is essentially instructing Freezefur to break his relationship with Cinnamon Tail. And I feel a little bit bad for Freezefur about this, because he and Cinnamon Tail have been together for a while, I think, and they genuinely were really happy for a long time with each other. I feel like Scorch Hollow kind of slipped in there, which surprised me and everyone else. And Lotus Gaze has been pining over Cinnamon Tail for a long time, but I feel like, I could be wrong, but I don't know, I feel like Cinnamon Tail would probably like miss Freezefur the most. Let's see what his relationship is like with those three. Yeah, he is the closest. He's in love with Freezefur. Freezefur is the only one he's actually in love with. He does like Scorch Hollow as well, has got feelings for Scorch Hollow as well, and he's come to like Lotus Gaze too after his many confessions, but he only loves Freezefur. So I think this is definitely gonna affect Cinnamon Tail quite a bit. It is gonna hurt his feelings, but this is what the clan is demanding of Freezefur. This is what the king is demanding of Freezefur. So Freezefur, unfortunately, is gonna have to break it up with Cinnamon Tail. Oh, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. And Foxstar actually wants to arrange Freeze's match with his daughter Burnlion. Now, she is bloodthirsty. She's been a cat that Foxstar is always, he's always been a little bit worried about. But so far, she's kind of been true to the clan, and he hopes this is another way in which she can come to serve the clan more or love the clan more, right? Build more close bonds and relationships. And Freeze for right now is the royal physician. I mean, his job has to do a lot with taking care of others and healing them, and maybe Foxstar, along with encouraging a litter between them, feels that this relationship will help Burnlion temper some of those flames inside her. So Freeze and Burnlion are going to become a couple, and the clan is going to be hoping for a litter from these two. So this is an official match that's been made by the king. They are incompatible, so I don't know how that's going to work, but maybe the king feels if anyone is going to be able to control his daughter, it's going to be Freezefa, because he has that confidence. He's going to be able to face her. So that's what we have between the two of them. I need to make sure that they can have kits, and Burnlion can have kits. Now, the really savage part of all of this is the fact that as the matchmaker, Cinnamon Tail not only has to watch the love of his life be forced to break off their relationship and leave his harem, he also has to now matchmake between Freezefur and his new mate to make sure they have a better understanding of each other. And it has worked. Comfort, romance, platonic like, respect, trust has increased. Dislike and jealousy have decreased. Ugh. And it seems as though Freeze and Burnlion have, after this matchmaking session, gotten a better impression of each other. But it definitely feels like Burnlion has gotten a much better impression of Freezefa. And that probably has to do with the fact that she obviously doesn't have any romantic inclination towards anyone else. So she's kind of available, she's never been in love before. And so I can see her being receptive to Freezefa. Whereas Freezefa is probably having to kind of deal with a lot of his feelings from his relationship with his first love, Cinnamon Tail. I think Freezefa liked Cinnamon Tail for a long, long, long time before they got together. For them, it was always a little bit of interest and then backing off, a little bit of interest backing off in earlier seasons of Royal Clan, if I'm remembering correctly. But how does Freezefa feel? His relationship or his romance with Cinnamon Tail has gone down quite a bit, so he's fallen out of love with Cinnamon Tail. Fair. I can kind of see also how if Freezefa's been faithful to Cinnamon Tail this whole time, Cinnamon Tail suddenly growing his harem would have maybe hardened his heart just a little bit, and would have made it so that Freezefa probably feels as though Cinnamon Tail doesn't need him in his life anymore, which is very, very sad. And I can kind of see that he does have some romance with apparently Fierce Tooth and Foxstar. He's got a little bit of with them, but I feel like this might be something that's come from just spending time with Fierce Tooth and the king a little bit more, while also having Cinnamon Tail, be distracted with Scorchhole and Lotus Gaze. I think Freezefa naturally would have felt himself become distanced from Cinnamon Tail. But I don't think I would personally give as much emphasis to those relationships as I would to the one he's now developing with Burnlion. I think, Freezefa probably would be a little bit more mentally and emotionally prepared to leave Cinnamon Tail than Cinnamon Tail would be to have Freezefa go. It's an odd situation, but I think that's where they are at. Obviously, in Cinnamon Tail's mind, this didn't even cross his thoughts whatsoever. I don't think he would have assumed something like this would happen, because Freezefur has been saying, it's okay for Scorch Hollow to become a mate, it's okay for Lotus Gaze to become a mate, so maybe Cinnamon Toast started taking it for granted, and he kind of had confidence that Freezefur would be okay with anything and everything. But now, the fact that the king's demanding this new match between Freezefur and Burnlion, it's, I think, flipped things over a little bit. But anyways, that is going to be interesting to see. I hope Freezefur and Burnlion are able to work it out, even though it doesn't seem as though they would be naturally inclined towards each other. But let's take a look at their descriptors just to see the type of cats they are. Freezefur is a long-furred dark brown tabby tom. Burnlion is a long-furred golden tabby she-cat. He has dark blue eyes and a mackerel pelt. Burnlion has gold eyes and a mackerel pelt. So both of them have a mackerel pelt, which is kind of nice. So okay, let's see what everyone is doing for the day. King Foxstar is having a nice conversation with the cats guarding camp. Snapdragon charges forward during a border patrol, eager and unafraid. Freezefur found a wonderful napping spot outside camp. Cinnamon Tail saw a two-leg kit playing with a kitty pet. Feastooth is hoping she finds an opportunity to slip back to her nest. Scorch Hollow is strutting around confidently. I mean, his relationship with his brother has improved a little bit. And also, I wonder if Scorch Hollow feels, now that Freezefur is not in the picture, his brother might have a better chance of getting closer to Cinnamon Tail. And so will he. He'll have a better chance of getting closer to Cinnamon Tail, because they're not competing with, Cinnamon Tail's first and only love. Lotus Gaze is sitting in the shade trying to hide from the heat. Bone Beetle curses a squirrel that just barely got away. Burnlion is craving the taste of Vole. I love how she's been paired up with Freezefur, and even though she had a good impression of him, she likes his confidence. She's not even that bothered about the match. She's thinking about food. Hazel Slip enjoys the warmth of Greenleaf. Flurfreckle is feeling restless. Ghost Feather knows Snapdragon would make a great leader. Okay. Of course he does. I mean, she is his mate, and she just gave him the most precious little daughter, so I can see how he would feel that way. In fact, I just want to quickly see, has the relationship between Snapdragon and Ghost Feather changed? No, they're not in love with each other. They just seem to have a healthy, I was going to say respect. They're just comfortable with each other, I see. Yeah, they're comfortable with each other and have a good impression of each other. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. I mean, some relationships are definitely more practical than others. And then, of course, Mudkit snuggles up to the belly of Snapdragon. Heading on to patrols, we currently have 119 prey, and we only need 31, so we don't have to worry about food. We'll send out Freezefur first off to see what he gets. Freezefur heads out into the sunshine, padding away from camp in a search for one of the most elusive herbs. Proceed. It's alright to fail, Freezefur reminds himself. At least he knows where there isn't catmint, and that will make the next patrols to find it easier. And then we're gonna have a patrol of 5. So Hazel Slip, Burnlion, Bone Beetle, Feastooth, and King Foxstar. Let's see what they get up to. While walking along the border, the patrol notices a DownClan patrol renewing their scent marks up ahead. Proceed. When the two patrols get closer to each other, the patrol leader from DownClan gives King Foxstar a respectful nod, which they return. The patrols refocus on their tasks without stopping for a conversation, but a feeling of mutual respect has been fostered. Relations with DownClan have improved. Okay, there we go. And that's all we have for this episode. Ghost Feather and Snapdragon welcomed a litter of one brown kitten named Mudkit, and a new royal match was made by the king between the royal physician Freezefur and his eldest daughter Burnlion. With that said and done, I'm going to leave off here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.